Coach, you coached Adam Morrison, and certainly one of the elite players of college basketball, but also one of the, I guess, more eclectic personalities. Is there a story that you have, or does anything stand out when you think about your time with Adam?
Hey, Robbie, there's 100 of them. I mean, and if you know Adam, we all have stories on Adam.
I've gone out with Adam. I've gone out with Adam a few times over the last few years, and yes,
they can range anywhere from G-rated family time, right, Sunday at 7 p.m. to cable TV at midnight. So I just say this: I don't think his whole story's totally been depicted, honestly. In that, I want to say he, maybe was second team all rookie his first year and averaged double figures. And then for the first time in his career, I believe in the exhibition season, it's the first serious injury he's ever had. He never had a sprained ankle with us, broken bone, anything, never practice. He ended up blowing his ACL out. And then, as luck would have it, they went from Bernie Bickerstaff, who, I think really understood Adam's gifts and what he could bring, to Larry Brown, who wasn't really that interested in letting Adam show his offensive skills. And Adam wasn't the world's greatest defender that ever walked the earth. And so, that started kind of the demise a little bit, but then he got traded to the Lakers, and, there was a pretty good player in front of him at the Lakers that liked to play a lot, named Kobe Bryant. And so, as luck would have it, he just kind of, and Robbie, you can tell you have more experience than any of us with that. That's a tough league to make, man, if you're not getting those minutes and able to show yourself. So,
I think situation matters so much too, like you said. Like you can get drafted and you can be better than somebody else, but if you don't have an opportunity to play, it's tough.
Yeah. And
that's, people don't understand that, because everybody's so good in the NBA. Like, everybody is good there.
Unbelievable. Just how well they all shoot it. And how they can all make the right read on the ball screens. They can all, guard their yard, or most of them can. And but at his heyday, guys, now when he was here, when him and JJ were going back and forth, it was
awesome.
It was something. It was packed houses everywhere we went, checking in with aliases in the hotels, just to kind of, it was a circus at the hotels and around our bus and stuff like that. And he would deliver. He had, I want to say, multiple 30-point halves that year for us. And I'll tell you one great story, and it involves a good friend of mine and an acquaintance of Jeff's, Coach Calipari. When he was at
it's a good word for
it. Good. It was a really huge game. Gonzaga coming to Memphis, and big articles, big to do leading up to it. And the forum was sold out, obviously, and just crazy atmosphere there. And Adam was just kind of started the game, going through, the motions. There wasn't much going on. And then there was a jump ball and a scrum on the floor. Everybody was kind of rolling around, and all of a sudden, oh gosh, I wish I could remember that. He was 6'8", kind of forward, played in the NBA a little bit. It got up and got in Adam's face after the little skirmish.
Carney? Was it Rodney Carney or something?
No, bigger than that. Williams or something maybe. Was
John Williams. John Williams.
Again, I don't want to.
I think it was Sean Williams.
It might have been. Okay, and Calipari, bang, or John immediately hits a timeout and comes over and just lights the dude up, is in his face the entire timeout. And go back into play, and I think Adam scored on the next 10 or 12 possessions, 10 straight times he scored. And that was Adam Morrison. And afterwards, talking to Calipari, I was like, what was that all about? He's like, I told our guys, do not do anything to get this guy going. Sometimes if you don't do anything, you'll just kind of just let the sleeping dog lie. But if you do, and so from that point on, I had a great assistant coach named Leon Rice, who's now the head coach at Boise State. He would just literally make up stuff before games, found the other team's scouting report. This is what they said about you, Adam. I was listening to the coach's radio show. This is what they said about you. It was just must watch deep. I mean, every time he played, every time him and JJ played that year, it was unbelievable. JJ would play 2 hours before us and hit 40, and then Adam would get 41, 2 hours later, or vice versa.
It's funny you say that about making stuff up, because when Kevin Garnett got traded back to us on the Timberwolves my second year, he did that stuff too. Like, he'd make up gambling debts about players where there'd be guys at the free throw line and he's screaming at guys about money they owe him. And these guys everybody was afraid of KG. They'd be looking at him terrified. And he's yelling like, well, pay me my money. Like all sorts of other words intertwined in that. And these guys are like, man, I've never even met you. And they'd run back on the other end of the floor. And he's like, that dude's not even thinking about blocking out. He's thinking about me. I was like, that is genius. So I'm glad to hear that you guys were doing the same thing to Adam Morrison.
Yeah, and it worked. I mean, he had a year for the ages that year. I think leading the whole nation in scoring and amazing run. And now, you know what? He's settled in. He's doing radio for us. He's really grown up. He's got 2 daughters. He's coaching them in AAU. It's kind of been fun to see that transformation.
I love Adam. I absolutely love him. One of my favorite people. I think he's
great interview.
What's that?
A great interview.
Yes. Because there's no BS with him. Zero. Nope. He will say exactly what is on his mind with no filter and no ego. No ego about it. Like that's you would never know he had that type of career in college. He just walks into a bar and he's just like any other regular dude.
Was he a highly recruited?
Go ahead, Robbie.
Was he a highly recruited guy, or like how heavily?
He was one of our first. We've only had a couple players from Spokane good enough to play here. We have one right now, Anton Watson. No, he was a ball boy of ours way back when he was a kid. And I don't want to bore you with all these stories, but that same assistant Leon was like, hey, you need to go watch this kid from Meade, man. Meade High School's here in Spokane. And I'm like, all right. And they were playing at the arena. So I went down and he's like, no, he's different. He's got a different kind of looking body and so I go down to watch him, and literally, I mean, he's just run around, just jacking shots. And he's kind of, he runs like this and no D whatsoever. Kind of shoulders slouched over. So Leon, calls me at halftime or whatever. I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, oh man. I said, I don't know, Leon, this guy, he was probably a sophomore going into maybe he was a junior. I can't remember. Like, I don't know. He doesn't move great. He's got kind of a funky shot. That plays no D. And Leon's like, well, how many points does he have? And I'm like, I mean, he made some shots. And then there was a stat sheet laying there. And I picked up the stat sheet and he had 30 at half. And I said, you know what, Leon, I think I'm going to stay for the second half. and I can't tell you guys how many times he would do that. At the end of the game, he'd go like, Adam played all right. And then, he'd have 38, and you'd like, really? You had 38? And who's like that for us right now is Timmy. Timmy's like that.
Yeah.
He'll go
Every
like,
night.
I'll be all pissed off because he missed some bunnies and some shots or didn't, rotate on a defensive assignment. Then we'll get in at a half and he's, 8 for 11 or 8 for 10 and has 19 points at half. So some guys have that.